It's taken a long time for Renault to deliver a proper follow-up to its ZOE EV, but the Megane E-Tech Electric was worth the wait. Family hatch segment EVs often tend to be either rather boring or ever so slightly weird, but this one's stylish and engaging. A new kind of Renault for a very different era.
Renault promises that this car's sporty looks will translate into a sporty drive, and there's lots about the design and engineering this model to suggest that that might translate into reality on the tarmac. The new power steering system here has a super sharp 12:1 ratio, and there's an uber thin 60 kilowatt hour battery, which along with a particularly light electric motor allows this Renault to save about 100 kilos in weight over its rivals, and can be mounted even lower in the chassis than it normally would be in an EV. That platform is the Nissan Renault Alliance Group's stiff new CMF EV setup, notable here because it mounts the drive motor at the front. Rival VW Group EVs from Volkswagen, Cupra and Skoda sit it at the back. This Megane's single front motor produces 216 brake horsepower of total output. That's the highest in the segment, although if you use too much of that, you won't get anywhere near the quoted 280 mile range figure. In fact, we didn't even manage to get within 80% of that figure on this test, even with maximum brake regeneration selected from the steering wheel paddles and the most frugal MySense drive mode selected too. The others are Comfort, Perso and Sport. It's tempting to use a bit of that power because, unlike most of its rivals, this Renault really is quite an engaging little thing to punt about. Surprisingly, given the huge 20-inch wheels most variants have here, the ride's okay too, and refinement is really exemplary by segment standards. Rapid charging at up to the car's 130 kilowatt maximum, 15 to 80% charge can be completed in half an hour. At home, from empty to full, a single phase 7.4 kilowatt garage wall box will require 9 hours 15 minutes, so fine for overnight in other words. Looks good, doesn't it? Now apparently what we have here, based visually on the Megane E-Vision concept car unveiled in 2020, was originally going to be the performance version of this car, but designer Laurens van den Akker found that everyone liked it so much that he decided to standardise the look across the whole Megane E-Tech Electric range. The so-called sensual tech design looks especially striking from the side, where you particularly notice the high belt line, the narrow glass house, the super short overhangs and the almost coupe-like swept back silhouette. The front delivers a rather more confident look than you might expect from a manufacturer with such a dismal recent European sales record. The brand's latest Nouvelle R logo is centrally positioned, where other rivals only have an apologetic plastic panel to replace the unnecessary front grille. The light show continues at the rear, where numerous laser-cut micro-optic fibres laid in criss-crossing lines create an intriguing 3D-like shimmer effect. Innovation then is the theme dominating the exterior design and engineering of the car, but will it also characterise the cabin? Well, it's certainly all very digi-tech and on-trend. Renault claims inspiration here from the world of home furniture. Cosy upholstering and lots of different recycled surfaces surround the glossy open R fascia screen panel, what the brand calls this cabin's crowning jewel. It's made up of a 12.3-inch instrument display and a 9-inch central monitor. Now that central screen claims to deliver a new level of media connectivity for this class of car. It uses an Android automotive system developed with Google. It'll be periodically updated over the air, and you'll get direct access to helpful apps and services too, like Google Maps and Google Play. Plus you can link into your Google account, and there's Google Assistant voice control. Other cabin design features include this curiously shaped steering wheel, superbly comfortable seats, and an enormous central storage console beneath the dash, which flows back between the two front chairs. All-round visibility might be something that you'll have to adapt to a bit, thanks to the narrow glass area, the letterbox-shaped rear screen and the considerable rear C-pillars too. But there are some lovely trimming touches, and most models get this smart double yellow stitched synthetic leather upholstery. Right, time to take a seat rearwards. Operating the upper door catches hidden in the C-pillar will have clued you into the fact that the designers here were aiming for a coupe-like feel, which is fine for impressing people at the gym, but not so good for those who have to be confined back here for more than short periods. There are some pluses here though. The chunky, centrally mounted underfloor batteries fitted to many EVs these days require a slightly raised floor, and that means that backseat folk in those cars often have to sit with their knees slightly raised towards their waist, and that can get a bit uncomfortable on longer trips. The much thinner LG battery used here alleviates that problem, which combined with a combustion conventional 27 degrees of rear backrest angle means that sitting in the back of an EV Megane feels very much like it did in a fossil fuel powered one. Even on full battery models with dedicated EV platforms, it's not usual to find extra frunk storage in the space under the bonnet, which supposedly ought to be freed up in an electric vehicle. Certainly isn't here. The front-mounted motor fights for space with climate system packaging, which means that anything of any size you need to carry has to go where you'd expect it to, back here in the boot. Now, powered tailgates are often dismissed as a rather pointless invention, but you'd be thankful for one here, because without it, you have to press this inevitably filth-covered little button to access the manual-only tailgate. It rises to reveal a larger space than the short rear overhangs lead you to expect, 440 litres, although it's a bit odd-shaped, with most of its capacity coming from its depth rather than its height. You can add a boot organiser and a protective cargo area covering, and although folding down the 60/40 split rear bench doesn't deliver a particularly flat cargo area, the 1332 litre size should easily be enough for the needs of most owners. At a stroke, for the first time in a long time, the Megane E-Tech Electric makes Renault seem a more credible force in the mainstream European market. And we're really quite intrigued by the thought of just how good a future high-performance Renault Sport-style Alpine-badged version might be. For the time being, though, what we've got is a car that signals Renault right back on track.